Hello everyone, and welcome back to Decks and Dials. Today I wanted to do a review of this drop Felix with an STP 1-11. So it's a Swiss movement in a very inexpensive package. So as you can see, this is a quite compact little field watch that's 39.5 millimeters in diameter, so very, very wearable, even for people with smaller wrists. And it's only 12 millimeters thick, which is actually one more than they claim on the Drop website. They claim 11 millimeters, but when you measure it with the crystal, it actually comes out to about 12 millimeters on my calipers. The other measurements are that it's 43 millimeters lug to lug, which is, again, about 1 millimeter more than what they write on the website. And it is 20 millimeters in terms of the lug width. So it's quite easy to find straps for that width. Now, the movement itself is actually quite interesting. So this watch is offered in two versions, with the Sellita SW200 and the STP 1-11. So both of those movements are based on the ETA 2824, and they both feature one improvement, which is that they have an extra jewel in one of the spots where the ETA movements tend to have durability problems. And this is not something that I know from personal experience. This is just from what I've read. And this one actually features one more improvement over the ETA that the SW200 from Sellita doesn't have. So this actually features 44 hours of power reserve, whereas the original ETA 2824 and the Sellita SW200 only have 38 hours. So I think that this is a very cool little movement. So STP, they've been around for a little while, but I haven't seen them in too many watches, but I guess they're catching on in popularity. So I believe that they're owned by the Fossil Group. So there is a large company behind them. And I think that that hopefully should mean that there should be no problems with the longevity of this company, which means that they probably just won't go under and disappear overnight, which means that there should be many parts that you can easily find for servicing this watch. So to talk about some of the other aspects of the watch, I really like that it's a field watch. It has, your typical 12-hour scale as well as a 24-hour scale. And all of these indices are loomed, as are the hands. We've got a screw-down crown, which is very, very nice for a field watch. So it's not a dive watch, but it still has a screw-down crown, 100 meters of water resistance, probably a little bit more than that, actually, given that we have a screw-down crown and a screw-down case back, but they only claim 100, probably to be on the safe side. I'm happy with that. And if we look actually at the back, since we're here, as you can see, the movement features a little bit of decoration, and there's a display case back option, which I selected. There's also a solid case back if you prefer that. One of the unfortunate parts of selecting this particular version with the STP is that the rotor, it has some striping for decoration, but it doesn't feature any of the information. Now, with the SW200, the information about the movement is on the rotor, so it looks much nicer. Whereas here, I'm not sure that I'll actually be able to show you, but essentially the information about the movement, that it's, Swiss made, that made by STP, 1-11 in terms of, what the model actually is, all of that is printed essentially on the very edge of the movement, and it's covered up by the back. So if you look very carefully and get the rotor out of the way, you can actually read it. I'm not sure I'll be able to show it to you on camera though, but it is there. So you can see it. You do know that this isn't, some kind of a knockoff movement, but it's kind of hidden and out of sight. So the rotor looks a little bit plain, but it's something that I can live with. Anyways, so to return to the front of the watch, we have a very small, very light case. Now, I don't have a scale. I can't tell you exactly how much this weighs. I'm sure you can look it up on the website itself, but it feels like almost nothing on the wrist. It is very lightweight, and I really like it. In terms of the other pluses of this watch, as I've already said, it is quite affordable. It's $200, which I think is quite a good deal for what you're getting here. And it is quite accurate right out of the box. So I got about +3 seconds per 24 hours. And I think that that's actually quite admirable, considering that I didn't have to do any kind of adjustment on it. And you do get a sapphire crystal on the top. I'm not sure if the back crystal is sapphire as well, but I think it's really only the top that matters, really, because that's where you're liable to actually scratch it. So As I said, very attractive package. Now, there are a couple of downsides, and I'll tell you about it in a second. So first up, the case construction itself. Now, there's nothing really wrong with it, but it is quite basic. As you can see, it's very simple circular shape. These lugs probably don't come as part of the actual piece of metal that the rest of the case is machined out of. They're probably just welded on, I assume. So I think it's probably done to save money. I can't really tell due to the covering over the top of the metal, but I think it's probably that they're welded on, and it feels, or rather it looks a little bit cheap, which again, I can live with because, I mean, it is cheap in the sense that it's inexpensive, but it doesn't feel flimsy at all. So I guess that's all right. Now, another minus that I already mentioned is the very nondescript rotor. It would have been nice to have some of the information about the movement somewhere where you can actually see it without really fiddling with the rotor, trying to look underneath that little ledge here. And finally, the biggest minus that I really hate about this watch is the strap. Holy moly, this leather strap is probably the stiffest, least comfortable, least supple leather strap that I've ever felt. Now, thankfully, it does come with these quick release bars, so you can get rid of it very easily. But yeah, to get it even to bend this much, I had to really work it. As you can see, it's super stiff still, and it does not fit comfortably on the wrist initially at all. So I highly recommend switching out the strap, which thankfully is quite easy to do, as I mentioned. And one final minus is that the loom isn't actually very strong. I'll pop a loom shot on the screen at this point somewhere. And to show you what it looks like on the wrist, let me put that on. Oh, and as you can see, the buckle is signed, as is the crown. Here we go. As you can see, it's quite compact on the wrist. As I said, feels like wearing almost nothing. The crown, as I said, is screwed down. So once you unscrew it, you can hand wind it. Oh, and on this point, actually, I should share something useful that I found out after I got this watch. So actually, for these family of movements, so all the ones based on the ETA 2824, etc., they're actually a little bit tough to hand wind, which I wasn't expecting. So I'm used to Seiko movements, like Orient movements, so this came as a little bit of a surprise to me, and I thought that maybe I'd gotten a lemon, but having done some reading online, it seems that this is actually quite normal. So don't worry about it if you're also new to this family of Swiss movements. So this is quite normal. And obviously this also hacks as well. So if you pull it out to the second position, as you can see, the second hand stops, which makes it easier for you to get the time exactly right when you're setting the time. And yeah, so I think that it's a very nice looking watch. The only thing that I think it's really lacking per se is a date, so that would have been nice. But as I said, for such an inexpensive package, I think you're getting a lot for your money, and it is pretty good looking. I'm sure you agree. So that's it from me. So if you like this review, please hit the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and write to me in the comments if you have any feedback. See you soon.